Desegregating the Swope Park swimming pool. It was a pivotal time in Kansas City history. Alvin Brooks is here with a history lesson and also what we can learn from that moment in time for Kansas City. Of course, it's Black History Month across the country, and this was a big moment in Kansas City. How old were you at that time when it was desegregated?
I was 22 years old, and I was a cadet in the police academy, and I was assigned out there the latter part of the summer of 1954 when the swimming pool reopened.
What do you remember about this? There was a lawsuit because city leaders did not want it to be desegregated.
Well, the Board of Park Commissioners closed the pool, and then they went to court, and Judge Ridge ended up ruling that it could not be separate and equal. I should say that Judge Howard Sachs, the senior judge on the district court, was a clerk for Judge Ridge, and pretty much wrote that segment. But this was the beginning of the 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law.
Pretty incredible moment. Now, we have some historic pictures of the swimming pool at that time. When it was reopened, though, the attendance was not the same.
No, it was not the same, but I should also very hastily say that there was also the swimming pool that was open for blacks at 17th Paseo. It was a bathhouse and a swimming pool there. And if you compare the swimming pool at 17th Paseo at that time with the swimming pool at Paseo at the Swope Park, you could definitely see it was separate and unequal.
Unequal, and that's why the court ruled.
That's why the court ruled.
It's not separate and equal.
Yes.
They would have had to build a whole other swimming pool.
But it only dealt with the swimming pool. The other public accommodations, other things, even in the park, you could not rent a boat, you couldn't rent a horse, you couldn't rent a bicycle. And we were relegated to just one section as blacks, which was what they call Watermelon Hill or Shelter House number 5. So if you ventured off someplace else other than Shelter House number 5, the police on horses would run you off.
So what do you see as you look back to this moment when we finally desegregated the Swope Park swimming pool? What do you see that we've learned from that, how it helped us, become a community that's integrated?
Well, it was only 10 years later, 1964, the public accommodation was passed, which meant that all public places were open to everyone. Now, also the ordinance was passed, and nationally and statewide the laws were passed, but Kansas City passed this, and then, of course, there were those who resisted and didn't obey the law, which is kind of common in America. What would happen? But I think then that began to set the stage for housing in 1968. We're integrating housing and housing integration and downtown stores and all. It used to be at one time that the only place that African Americans could eat was at Kresge's, standing up on the alley at 12th and Main. You couldn't eat downtown, so the theaters you couldn't go to. So I mean, this was a precedental move, but at the same time, it did not open everything up to the public.
There is so much more to this. I could sit and just listen at your feet.
I love to sit
about this history. And people can do that because there's an event coming up, and it is tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, Thursday night, at the Plaza Library, beginning at 6:30. I should say that the 600-seat auditorium is filled, but there is an overflow, so people still can call and maybe come out and stand, and someone won't come up, and you can take their place. Maybe a great event. And it's Kansas City's history. It's not a good part of Kansas City's history, but it sets the stage for where we are today.
That's important. All right, thank you so much for coming and
My
sharing.
pleasure.
And if you want to hear Alvin Brooks and also Thurgood Marshall Jr. Tomorrow night at the Plaza Library.
Judge Howard Sachs, as well as David Ochtenberg, one of the professors at the law school.
You're an amazing person and a Kansas City treasure. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.